Through silver shafts of sunlight, the king of the pod arrives. Beside him, the queen glides in shining grace. To the throne of coral they swim.
This episode is brought to you by thedolphinwars.com.
Everybody, and welcome to King Dolphin Television, episode 439, the second season of Radio King Dolphin TV. I am Raymond. I am the author of the Dolphin Wars trilogy and ruler of the greatest pod on YouTube, and I would like to welcome you all to this special evening. And I would like to introduce my amazing, the not ready for pod time players, starting with Agent Pepsi One. How are you?
Hey, pretty good. How y'all?
Good. Anti-derivative Jill. How you doing, Jill?
Oh, doing wonderful. Having a good week. And
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks
Glad you're here. Glad you made it.
Mm-hmm.
We're ready for another exciting reading. And
first, I have to take out the lasagna from the oven.
Say what?
Oh, sorry. But first, I have to take out the lasagna from the oven. Hold on.
Okay. And we got Max Redstone. How are you doing, Max?
I'm under the weather.
Oh, that seems to be going on. Going on today.
Yeah.
Okay, as soon as Jill gets started, we will get going. If you like Radio King Dolphin TV, just cause, and all the other exciting things we do here on King Dolphin TV, please like and subscribe, and also follow. I'm sure Legatus will put it out there. And also, if you are so inclined and want to keep the lights on in the house, I'm sure Legatus. And please do what FKHC says, who said, this episode of Radio King Dolphin TV is brought to you by the tax agency of Snorty and Trike, who remind you to pay in super chats, stickers, or on the tip.
What if, Raymond, you are perchance diametrically opposed to what King Dolphin TV does?
What do you mean?
What if you wanted to declare yourself mortal enemy of King Dolphin TV and oppose everything it does and everywhere it does it?
Okay. I don't oppose King Dolphin TV.
It logically suggests, Mr. Dolphin, that if someone can support you, that someone could oppose you. It is only logic.
Ooh. Yeah, that's definitely logic. All right. And Snort is having trouble with the tip link. So, and hello, Kel's Kist. Glad you can make it. And hello, Snort, FKHC 2005, Legatus Legion I. Our producer, Sandra, who's also going to try and rein in Trike. And,
the first thing I would do is take away Trike's cell phone, okay, Raymond?
FKHC, Snort of Poop. Oh, yep, and we got the big bear. We have got the big bear ready to go. It is Snort of Poopas, Q-Bar. There you go.
Drone bears.
Yeah, drone bears. Okay, so as soon as Jill gets here, we will get started. There, we will be starting the first 6 chapters of Dolphin Wars Peacemaker. Now I have to make sure I put Dolphin Wars on there because I don't want DC or James Gunn saying I'm copying Peacemaker. Okay.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
here, by the way.
Okay.
Hello.
All right. So we are ready to go. Agent Pepsi One had to step away, but I'm taking over her narrating part so we can get started. So this is chapter 1 to 6 of Dolphin Wars Peacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
And again, read by myself, Anti-Derivative Jill, Agent Pepsi One, and Max Redstone. I hope you enjoy. Okay. Let's get on. Okay. Chapter 1. March 2163. The last day of the Second Martian War. Commander Jan Ando was in the presidential mansion on New Sydney Mars. He had just witnessed the president of the Martian Union, Johann Taylor, have a mental breakdown. He felt bad because he caused it. Jan had told Taylor that he and millions of people were victims of a cycle of betrayal and vengeance that Taylor caused. It was a fitting punishment, however, as Taylor ordered his grandfather's torture and grandmother's brutal murder. As Taylor was carted out, Jan shook his head and walked out of the room. In the hallway, Jan saw his father, Rear Admiral Tran N. Ando, was in the hallway under escort. Jan walked over to his father and said, "Hello, Dad." Ando could not hold his emotions as he put his arms around Jan and said with tears in his eyes, "Oh my God, Jan, I am so glad to see you." Jan said calmly, "Dad, it's good to see you too. I think the war will be over soon." Back. Then a man in a suit came over to him. Jan turned toward him and said nothing.
Rear Admiral Ando, I am George McDonald, the head of the Senate. And he offered his hand to Ando.
Ando shook his offered hand. "It's an honor to meet you, Senator McDonald. May I ask what happened to Mr. Taylor?"
Let's just say he could not handle the stress of war.
Ando nodded his head in understanding. He continued.
I am empowered to negotiate an end to this madness.
"What about the head of the militia?"
We have civilian control of the militia. He may not agree, but the Senate runs the planet, and I speak for the Senate. Now, may we go?
He led the way to the guards and led Ando and Jan to their waiting shuttle. They boarded the shuttle, and after it took off, Ando got on the commander's communication channel to the task force commander to report to them they will be bringing someone to negotiate the armistice with. He received congratulations and notification that his brevet rank of vice admiral was reinstated. A medical officer approached him and asked to examine Jan to evaluate his treatment while under captivity. Jan nodded and went to the doctor. Meanwhile, all the radio frequencies reported that Taylor died in the hospital as a result of a heart attack. Jan returned from his medical exam, which showed that he was showing no ill effects. He wanted to tell his father everything, but wasn't sure how to do this. He knew his father had a lot on his mind. So Jan decided to invite him to dinner when they returned to the flagship. Perhaps that would help to soften the blow. Once they arrived at Essex, Ando and McDonald were escorted to the task force commander's ready room. Just before they entered, the commander's yeoman handed Ando two communiques. He looked at the messages and with great effort struggled to hold his professional demeanor as he asked the young woman, "Does the task force commander know?"
Yes, sir. And he said you can take care of this personal matter.
Ando nodded and handed the communique to McDonald, who looked at them and handed him with a look of concern. Ando asked to take his leave and walked away. Then, when he reached his quarters, he sobbed loudly. Jan was in the ready room of VAQ 480, the Warhawks, reading reports from the Devil Rays on patrol around the battle space. He was deployed to the unit to assist them in using the Hammerhead on regular fighters. This ended up on his getting shot down. He was going to recommend the Hammerhead in its current configuration was only suited for the Devil Ray. He requested that he receive reports from his unit so he could keep appraised of all their activities. Just then, the interphone chimed. He answered, "Commander Ando here." "Jan, there's your father." Jan could tell even over the phone he was crying. "Can you come to my quarters as soon as you can?" Out of respect for his privacy, he didn't use his instinct and asked, "Sure, Dad. I'll be there in 10 minutes. What's going on?" The only response was the phone disconnecting. Ando shook his head and walked out. Jan arrived at Ando's quarters and closed the door behind him. He noticed that his father looked stricken. He started to open his mouth, but Ando raised his hand to stop him and said, "I just got word that your mother disappeared from FOB Kilo. They're searching for her, but there's no word." "Did she take a Devil Ray?" "No. They said she was on a transport, but could not say where it was going. They didn't file a flight plan. They think it may have been attacked and destroyed. Also, Ivan reported that your grandfather died." Ando screamed, "Oh my God, both of them at the same time!" Jan knew he would regret this, but he decided the time was now. So he stood up and sat on the chair across from his father and looked at him as he put his arm on his shoulder. His father looked gratefully at him as he said, "Dad, I know." Ando looked at him in shock and whispered angrily, "Let me guess. It was that goddamn instinct of yours. Tell me, what do you know? Do you want the whole story, Dad?" Ando said nothing and waved his hand in a come-on gesture. Jan took a deep breath and said, "This insanity started when you were 16. Grandpa was an agent of Spin's on a mission where he was betrayed by his partner and tortured. At the same time, grandmother was violated and murdered by people his partner hired. Grandfather never knew why you were spared. He saw the shocked look on his father's face as he continued. Grandfather's former partner was Johann Taylor, the man who recruited him into the organization." Realization shone on Ando's face as he softly said, "So you mean my father started 2 wars for revenge?" "Yes, sir, he did. Grandfather at first wanted to turn Mars into an irradiated wasteland, but chose a more painful route. There's more. Have you ever heard of Koklu, the Weeping Willow?" "Yes. I heard she was a spy extraordinaire, but I always thought she was a myth." "She was recruited by Grandpa as a tool of his revenge. She was on his radar from the day she cold-cocked you at a party." "No, it can't be." Jan nodded sadly. "What a fool I am. I was used by them for revenge. The shot destroyed the effects of the mind wipe. It was Uncle Johann on the battlefield that day. That bastard was my godfather, and he betrayed my dad." "Yes, perhaps it was sentiment that you were not killed along with grandmother." I wish I was. Your mother lied to me and manipulated me all that time. Dad, she loved you. But Ando silenced him with a look into his face. He then decided to go all the way wherever chips may fall. Dad, there is more.
Um,
What more? What more can you tell me? My heart is torn to pieces because of my so-called family, Commander. Jan was saddened by the bitterness in his voice, but he forced himself to continue. Dad, just before Mom got pregnant with me, she consented to an experiment. What kind of experiment? We had an encounter with an alien race that visited us. They had no way to communicate with them, so they were turned over to spins who found a way. They gave Mom, he angrily interrupted Jan by saying, "Don't you ever call her that again." Jan continued. They injected her with her blood. It enabled her to communicate with them. It also gave her telepathic abilities, and they are passed on to me. You mean you're a mutant? Yes. I didn't know about it until before she returned to you. Mom wiped my mind, so my only ability I had access to and healing abilities. After I was captured, she teamed up with Gemini and attempted to rescue. They actually made it onto New Sydney when I had contact with her telepathically. Mom monitored me as I talked to Taylor, and then after he broke down, she decided to transform into one of the aliens and went off into space. Ando was ready to lunge at Jan as he growled, "You're insane! Stay away from me! Please, Dad, I want to pass on Mother's farewell gift to you. Stay away from you, Commander. I never want to see you again." Jan looked serene as he said, "You don't mean that. Yes, you're hurt, but please let me show you." He began taking off his uniform and went to his skivvies. Jan saw his father start to pull out his blaster, but stood there undaunted. He closed his eyes, and a glow surrounded his birthmark first and then soon enveloped him. The glow receded, and Ando saw a bright blue dolphin floating in front of him. He flinched in surprise and then lowered his blaster. My God! Just then, they saw a happy little girl in both their minds.
Daddy, let me try too. Hi, Grandpa.
Who is this?
Hi, it's Katrina. Doesn't Daddy look cute? I want to show you Grandma's gift. Maybe you will let me.
Tran visualized a 3-month-old baby girl floating in front of him, and then she smiled and said,
Hi.
Ando smiled and said, "Hello, little one." Jan could tell that between his transformation and Katrina's vision, he calmed down. She then touched his forehead with hers and said,
This is from Grandma.
Tran saw the blackness of open space, and then he saw the stars resolve into points of light. He then saw one of the points of light move toward him. It came close enough that he could see it was a silver dolphin that had a glowing aura around it. And that's where he heard the most beautiful voice in the universe.
Tran, my love.
It transferred to a new Tanya. He tried to say something, but she put her finger on his lips and said,
Sush, I am so deeply sorry that I caused you pain. I loved you from the first moment we met. When I heard about what happened to your mother and father, I was so angry because I knew they could have gotten to you and killed you before I even had the chance to get to know you better. At that time, I decided to do something about it. I had already had the training from my father, so I decided to visit your father to see how I would be of service. I regret nothing because I did it for you. You can hate me all you want, but please don't hate Jan or his daughter. They are innocent.
She kissed him on the forehead and said,
Live well, Tran, and remember that I love you.
Before he could say anything to her, she turned into a dolphin and swam off. Tran opened his eyes and he saw Jan returning to heal him and putting his shirt on. They said nothing but hugged for some time. On Earth, Katrina saw in her mind her daddy, grandma, and grandpa. She talked to grandpa, and then the grandma started to glow. She smiled happily and said,
Bye-bye, Grandma. I love you.
Tanya then joined her brother and sister dolphins off into space. Then, suddenly, everything went blank. The little baby looked at her mom, who looked at her with a concerned look in her face. She thought,
Mommy, Daddy, where's my daddy?
then she heard nothing from her mommy in her mind and did not see her dad's face. She started to cry uncontrollably and flapping her arms and legs in a frenzy. Christina Ando tried to hold her daughter still, but with her crying so violently, she could not keep her grip. She wrestled the baby to keep her still and put her in her crib, but could not stop her crying. In desperation, she tried to comfort her. Her husband, Jan, told her that since she inherited his ability to heal fast, sedatives may not be useful. She talked to the staff doctor and explained what was going on, and then he suggested that they try sonic sedation. He placed the headband on Katrina's head, and the soothing sound waves calmed her down to the point she fell asleep. The doctor told Christina to apply it on her daughter's head when she started having these bad crying spells. Christina nodded, but continued to be concerned about her daughter and wished Jan were there. Jan saw the vivid picture of his mother leaving with Farav and Arkia, and then the vision stopped. He thought, so Mom, you returned my block. At least I still have my instinct. I have to get in touch with Tina. Kitten won't know what happened. Jan stayed with his dad for some time and told him he would enter the reserves after the war ended. His father understood and gave his support. Jan walked to his quarters when he was intercepted by the operations officer in charge of Devil Ray tasking for the task force. Jan asked, "Can I help you, Lieutenant?"
Commander, I have a mission for you.
I thought with the war being over, I would go home.
Not yet, sir. There's a classified mission that we need you to do. We're going to dock with a ray that will pick you up, and they will have your mission tasking on board. This is so classified that they won't be able to transmit it to you via the normal channels. It should be here tomorrow.
So I have time to contact my wife to let her know I'm okay.
Yes, sir.
Jan nodded and walked away. Jan went to his quarters and dialed his personal channel. He saw Christina Ando on it. She said,
Jan, thank God you're all right. When your dad told me you were shot down, I thought the worst. Kitten said that you were okay, but I was so worried.
"I'm okay, honey. I have a lot to explain when I get home. But unfortunately, I don't know when I will be back. I put my request to join the reserves, but I don't know when I'll be transferred."
Yeah, I hope it's going to be soon.
"I hope so too. How's Katrina?"
Something happened. She went silent in my mind and started crying. I could not stop her at all.
Jan looked concerned. "How is she now?"
She's sleeping. The doctor had given her some sonic sedation. You know, she healed so fast that regular sedation doesn't work. But the sedative band seems to be working.
That's good. Maybe if you tell the doctor to send a message, I can come home. I know how to calm her down. She looked stern as she said,
Oh, no, you don't. Jen, Trin, Ando, we can take care of each other. You finish what you started and get home to us like you promised.
"Yes, ma'am. Kiss the kitten for me. Love you." He signed off. Katrina woke up and heard her mommy singing to her. She tried thinking to her mom, but she didn't respond. Then she opened her eyes and smiled. Christina asked,
I'm feeling better, honey.
Katrina nodded and pointed to her mom's pad repeatedly. Then her mom handed the pad over and she typed.
Mommy, what happened to me?
Her mom stared at her.
Chapter 2. Interlude. 40 light years from Earth was a star system of 2 unique planets. One world was discovered in the early 21st century, and it was called Gliese 1214b by the humans. The other world was never discovered because it shared the same orbit, but on the exact opposite side. They were unique, and they were both totally covered in water with few islands on the surface. Each planet life evolved on. On one planet, there was a race that closely resembled Earth's bottlenose dolphin. They were colored bright silver with unique markings. They had psychic powers and navigated the space lanes as easily as through the oceans. They could also change shape, but preferred the streamlined dolphin form to traverse through space. They were a peaceful race who loved to play and have fun and explore. They were also immortal. Where there was a yin, however, there was a yang. And where there was light, there was also dark. On the other planet, there was a race of animals that resembled the killer whales of Earth. They were warlike in their just like their Earth brethren. They hated the other race, known as the Akai, because of their gentle and curious nature. Thus, they waged war with them for millennia. It was a brutal and bloody affair that almost destroyed both races. Millions of years ago, they made a truce. They negotiated terms. The negotiated terms were not acceptable to either side, but it kept the peace until recently.
Max?
From the Occam Warrior's Scroll. The only good Akai is the one being chewed in a warrior's mouth.
On the day that the armistice between Earth and Mars was signed, a group of orcas known as the Occam surrounded their leader, General Gotu, at the largest underwater city of the other planet. He thought to them,
Fellow Occam, we were betrayed. The Akai Chum have interacted with the Outlanders in violation of our treaty. Barrett betrayed us.
This statement initiated angry squeaks, chirps, and squeals. As they writhed, he continued,
Yes, they did. However, this affront will not go unpunished. In his mind, he heard them all chanted one same word. War. Destroy them. Yes, war, not only the betrayers, but the bipeds. And they interacted with the generals. Begin your planning. Death to the Kai. We will bide our time and may take us many rotations, but we will destroy the chump.
They all cheered violently. May 2183. On the home world of the Akai the next day, a lone sentry floated above the north pole of the planet. His job was to monitor any anomalies near their world and report them to the central school. Just as he was daydreaming of dinner with his mate and offspring, he saw a black cloud headed toward them. Just as he attempted to sound an alarm, he was swarmed by hundreds of vicious killer whales. He never had the chance to scream as he was torn to pieces by the enemy army. A month later, 3 playful beings roamed into the system. Once one got through the glow that surrounded them, they would see the forms morph into 3 beings that look like silver versions of Earth's bottlenose dolphins with translucent and glowing silver skin. They all had smiles and were playful as they swam in parallel. The dolphin on the left said,
There, Tanya. There is home.
The dolphin in the center said, It's so beautiful, Tria. It reminds me of Earth. It's too bad Jana or Katrina couldn't see this. The dolphin on her right said,
They chose what they wanted, Sister Trina. I, for one, cannot wait until I splash in the waters of home again and be with my pod.
During their excursion, the 2 dolphins, known as the Akai, sang to the former human, known as Tanya Ando, in her previous life. The story on how the Great War, they were asked to roam the space. They were asked to roam the spaceways to explore. They did this with great relish and had many songs sung to the gods. As they descended into the atmosphere, they first noticed that the pristine blue waters were colored a dull gray. Tarav said,
Something is amiss, my sisters. I don't hear the songs of welcome. Someone should have welcomed us. We always have a sentry in orbit.
Tanya asked, What is this gray color over the water? Just then, she felt something wrong and hollered in their minds, Look out! As a large black form flew out of the water with an open mouth. That warning saved their lives. They splashed into the water just as the attacker, reminding her of a killer whale, flew past them. They swam into the ocean quickly, evading the school of whales by using their powers to create diversions, and distracted them. She asked, Brother, sister, who are they?
Our enemies from long ago, the Oakham.
Tarab said,
But they have not been here for thousands of rotations. Unless...
The truce is broken and they went to war.
Archaea said,
But how?
What truce?
To end the Great War, and the Akai and the Oakham had to promise not to interact with the otherworlders. That was what started the first war in the first place, by the Mother Ocean.
They were all shocked and silenced as they saw thousands of dead Akai floating in the ocean.
Those destroyers, those butchers, they're killing our pod.
Tarab said,
This is our doing. We interacted with humans, and the Oakham broke the truce.
What can we do? Before either could answer, they saw a squad of 5 Oakham swim toward them. Tarab said,
You two flee. I will hold them off.
Tanya said, No, you are no match for all of them. You will die, brother.
If I die, I will atone for our sins. Save the humans. Go and don't look back.
He started to charge toward the war party. They swam into underwater caves and hid as they heard his war cry in their minds, and his final words.
I'm sorry, great goddess ocean. May my soul swim to something deserving. Katrina!
When they were sure that they were alone, they swam to the surface and leaped out into space. Tanya asked sadly, "What does he mean for us to save the humans?"
Because we spent time with the humans and made one of them our sister. They feel that humans corrupted us. They consider the truth broken and will make war on all those responsible. Akai and the humans, none of us are safe. There is something wrong. I don't feel the soul of my brother either, Trev.
Neither do I. Is it lost forever?
I do not know. But we must get to your world. We must save your people.
What can the two of us do? Archaea explained as they soared the spaceways on a desperate quest to save humanity.
Chapter 3. Today, June 21, 84. It was graduation day for the Space Defense Force class of 2184. This year, the ceremony was held at the Annapolis, Maryland campus. Captain Jan T. Ando and his wife, Ensign retired Christina Ando, were in the distinguished guest section, accompanied by their triplets, Gwen, Lorena, and Ariana. This proud occasion was their oldest daughter, Katrina Way's graduation and commission as a Space Defense Force ensign. Tina was working on keeping the excited teenagers calm. Jan saw his father, Admiral Tran Ando, who was Force Commander of the SDF and hero of the First Martian War, sitting in his designated seat next to the podium. He knew that his father was very proud of his granddaughter. He loved all his kids, but he had a special relationship with Katrina. This was a time of reflection, and Jan, using his ability to stay in the moment, allowed himself to remember. Jan fought with his family in the Second Martian War. He graduated from flight school and was on his first assignment as a fighter pilot, flying ferrets as a wild weasel with the mission of suppressing enemy air defenses. For the first part of the war, he carried out his mission in exemplary fashion. It helped that he had a special ability that he called the instinct that enabled him to multitask as well as see bits of the future. This ability kept him alive during the war as well as effectively accomplish his mission. In the first enemy engagement of the war, his first wife, Lorena Ando, commander of the destroyer U.S. Grant, was killed as she heroically fought to stave off an enemy incursion into her zone of responsibility. Her actions not only kept the area clear, but earned her the Medal of Honor. Since that time, Jan became morose and self-destructive, which caused him to take on missions no sane person would fly. He also did not unwind after flying, which concerned everyone who knew him. His father could not convince him to move on from her then. His squadron commander gave him the choice of either taking leave or putting him under arrest. Jan got on an earthbound shuttle along with a wounded ensign from his late wife's command. When he met her, he thought she was a prostitute at the hotel he stayed at. While on Earth, Jan and Ensign Christina Tina A. Robbins entered a relationship which resulted in her becoming pregnant. So they got married. The child was unusual because she could talk telepathically with him. Neither of them knew why, but they didn't care. The baby was witty, sarcastic, and too smart for her own good at times. But despite that, they looked forward to raising a family. It also helped that he was not just a military man, but the only grandchild of the owner and CEO of Eastland Shipping, one of the premier over-water shipping companies on the planet. As Jan told his wife, they wouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck like other military members. Jan's leave ended and he prepared to go back to war. But he had an unexpected opportunity presented to him. He could either go back to the battle line as a weasel or be a part of Project Chicken Hawk. This was the test and development of a new craft that was to be the latest effort to end the brutal war, the Deadly Devil. He was shocked that his mother, Captain Tanya Ando, oversaw the project. In return for his work, he was given a promotion to lieutenant commander, and he was also there for the birth of his first daughter, Katrina Wade. He was instrumental in bringing the Double Race spacecraft into operational service and establishing the first combat squadron at the Mantis lair. While in command, he found out that there were people with their own agendas. First, he found out that someone made a clone of his dead wife, which had no morals and an unknown purpose. She seduced his wife and attempted to do the same to him, but he saw right through the ploy. He was ordered to make her a part of the crew, so he made a pact with her to ensure she did her duty. They got along so well that he had to make sure that he remembered that he had a wife and child at home, and she was not really his late wife. From his daughter, he found out that his mother worked as an assassin and spy for his grandfather, who was an intelligence agent for the UN. She then worked on a project known as the Entity Interaction Project, where she was injected with alien DNA so that she could interact with alien dolphins. While he was still in his mother's womb, he was taken to a couple of alien dolphins known as the Akai. They placed mental blocks on him to prevent him from knowing that he was a human alien hybrid. The two Akai, who were working for the United Nations on Project Bifrost, talked to Katrina telepathically, and together they helped him to get his memories back. Jan was then transferred to a special project where they would mount a hammerhead special weapon on a ferret weasel fighter to see if it would be effective. It was during this time of conducting his mission when he was shot down and captured by the Martians. Because he was the son of Tran Ando, the sworn enemy of Johann Taylor, the president of the Martian Union, he was taken as a prisoner. Taylor was maimed by a bombing attack by his father in the First War and wanted revenge, completely forgetting in his own insanity that he and Jan's grandfather were like brothers. Jan was instrumental in convincing Taylor that his revenge was misplaced, and he caused all the misery for what he did to Jan's grandfather. He told him that his grandfather had succeeded, and the revelation caused Taylor to have a breakdown. When Jan returned to Forward Operating Base Kilo, he was treated as a conquering hero and awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, later upgraded to the Medal of Honor. He was assigned special missions for a month and then redeployed to the squadron back to Mantis Lair, where they continued their mission to protect the asteroid belt. It was not determined yet if they would be deployed to Mars. When his grandfather died in his bed of natural causes, Jan felt it was fitting for him to die after his adversary. Both Jan and Tran were offered bereavement to go back to Earth for the memorials of his mother and grandfather. Tran refused, stating that duty required him to stay at Mars, where he was assigned to command the flight component of MarsCom. Jan went home thinking that his father's faith in his family was shaken. Jan arrives at Earth to a happy reunion with his wife and daughter. At the reading of the will, Jan was surprised to learn that Wen Ando bequeathed the whole of East Wind Shipping Company and Honla Island to him. Ivan told him that this was arranged between his father and grandfather, and Jan would be the heir of the island and the company. Jan Ando's life was SDF For Tranando's life was the SDF, and he wanted nothing to do with the business. And they both felt that Jan would do a much better job running the empire. The main problem was Jan still owed 3 years on his service commitment. Although East Wind Shipping was a mission essential business, and he could have gotten out of his commitment based on his war record, Jan felt he had a duty to finish what he started. He talked it over with his father and detailer and decided on doing 4 years as a part-time reservist at a fighter unit in Guam. He flew Griffins on a part-time basis in the force. It wasn't the devil ray, but it was still flying, and he felt that once a fighter pilot, always a fighter pilot. It was after seeing the beautiful scenery in Guam that he had an idea to expand the shipping empire. Jan and Tina talked about this idea, so they decided she would finish college and Jan would work on his shipmaster's rating when he wasn't flying during his reserve duties. She planned to take classes online while raising Katrina, and she finished college in only 2 years. That same month, Jan and Katrina were there as he received his shipmaster's rating. Armed with those credentials, Jan took full control of East Wind Shipping. At the same time, he found out that Katrina was pregnant again, this time with triplets. Katrina was 5 years old when the triplets were born. Like the time Katrina was born, Tina cussed him out and threatened him with bodily harm. They were named to honor the family members that meant a lot to Jan and Tina: Lorena, Ariana, and Lynn. After they were born, Jan and Tina decided they would add a hotel and a resort business to the shipping company. They already had cruise lines and enough of a resource, so they built resorts at lovely ports of call in the Pacific. They expanded these properties and called them Windsong Resorts, a fully owned subsidiary of East Wind Holding Company. Tina earned her law degree and became president of the resort. They made sure they would not let the business keep them from raising the kids. Jan would bring the kids to his office and let them play with the toy ships. Tina is fascinated by taking the kids with her on her business trips to the various hotels and resorts. The 4 kids loved swimming in the pools and the oceans during these trips. Katrina loved playing with the dolphins that always hung around the seaside resorts. And she always called them fishies. She said they reminded her of the ones in her head. During family days at the squadron, he would take the kids there to have fun with the exhibits and watch the airplanes fly. The family was close-knit, and Jan and Tina wanted them to have as much as a normal life for their kids as possible given their lifestyle. The kids were in one of the most prestigious private schools where they excelled. Katrina was the firstborn. From the time she was conceived, Jan and Tina knew she was special. She inherited her mother's red hair, large eyes, and her father's swimmer's physique. Her purple dolphin mark was on her right buttock. She called it her tramp stamp. She was athletic as her father and came close to tying him in swimming races. The kitten, as she was called, had a photographic memory and a genius-level IQ. This was unusual for a baby. Jan returned home on a permanent basis and explained to Katrina that when her mother left, she blocked her ability to communicate telepathically. Katrina found it hard to cope with the loss, so she started to compensate by using her parents' computers to communicate. It was then they discovered she was a genius. A month after he returned from redeploying the Devil Ray Squadron, he found out that Katrina hacked into an online college and took courses. She was taking full adult level sentences. She was talking full adult level sentences at age 1. At age 5, she was doing calculus. She was also a brilliant pianist because she used her mathematical knowledge to compose brilliant concertos. Her friends and family enjoyed her beautiful playing. She was talkative, witty, sarcastic, arrogant, and she especially wanted to learn. When she hacked into the Yale College program at age 1, it was hard for her parents to explain to the college authorities what she could do. Jan and Tina agreed that when she could talk, she could enter up the program and work for a degree. She earned her first bachelor's degree in engineering at age 2. She didn't want anything holding her back, so she entered a PhD program at age 6 and earned her doctorate in engineering at age 8. She wasn't satisfied with that, so she took another doctorate program and eventually earned a second doctorate in music education at the innocent age of 15. It was her dream to go to the academy, but she could not go in until she was 17 at the earliest. She spent as much of her free time learning about the other family businesses. Although she loved the challenges of running hotels and could make an award-winning filet mignon, she had her father's wanderlust. She earned her shipmaster's rating at 14, the youngest person ever. The crews called Jan the Rear Admiral and Katrina the Little Captain. With her many accomplishments and abilities, as well as being the daughter of a Medal of Honor recipient, she had no problem being accepted at the academy. She thrived because it was the first time she was truly challenged mentally and physically. The curriculum and the regimen were daunting because she had never had such structure before, but she earned top grades and had a well-rounded education. She was on the swim team and did well in competition and was an expert deep sea diver. She was the model student, but she was shunned at the beginning of her academic career. Many of her classmates were jealous of her prior accomplishments and her privileged background. She got bullied by them and had to endure their nickname for her, Doc Ando. They didn't give her credit for her own success, but attributed it to her father and grandfather, both decorated war heroes. She won them over with her innate leadership skills and sarcastic wit. She was a prankster and gave as good as she got. At the end, she graduated first in her class, to the horror of Jan and Tran, who wanted her to be a pilot. She became a push-drive engineer, and it was her goal to be the youngest battleship captain in the force. Jan asked her, "Why not a carrier?" And she huffed indignantly in the way that always made him laugh and said,
Daddy, that's boring. And it means 2 years of flight school. I want to get out there now. Maybe it's Grandma's influence.
Katrina adored her siblings and called them twerplets in a friendly manner. She helped them with their homework with the intellect she gathered over the years. It amused Jan and Tina to see her put the triplets in a military formation and drill them. Each triplet had their own personality and a dolphin birthmark at various locations on their body. Nguyen and Tina elbowed him at the same time to break him from his reverie. Nguyen said, "Dad, they're starting. Pay attention." He said, "I was." Then he repeated everything the last speaker said, something he always found in sport and doing, because it irritated them all. They listened to the speakers, but the highlight was when they heard
Ensign Ando, Katrina H., please come forward to present the valedictory speech.
The family all cheered, and Jan noticed that his dad wiped his eyes, much like he did when you graduated. Jan smiled in response and winked at Katrina, hoping she saw. She winked just before the speech. He noticed as he gave the speech, exhorting the cadets to take their oaths and duties seriously, that all the cadets were spellbound in her speaking ability. Jan thought, she definitely has a way with words. Jan glanced at his father and saw pride in his expression. He glanced at Katrina, but she seemed not to notice and concentrated on her speech. After she finished the speech, she received a standing ovation and some cheers, and then it was time to get their diplomas. Ando stood up with the commandant of the cadets and superintendent of the academy and waited for them. The names started to be called. When her name was called and she went up to the podium to accept her diploma, the family cheered again. Afterwards, as the class was reciting the oath of commission, Jan hugged Tina and cried for the first time. After the traditional graduation hat toss, the triplets ran to the hat that Katrina tossed. Nguyen retrieved it as they approached. Tina and Jan both hugged her and said, "Kitten, we attended all your graduations, but I am so proud, honey." She had a glum face which concerned Jan as she asked,
Why, Dad?
"Because you always wanted to be an officer." He smiled as she blushed. Jan and Tina were amused because she always blushed easily, just as her mom did at her age. Lorena, the chatty one, said,
Congrats, Kitty. I told you you wouldn't screw up your speech. You were so worried. Thanks, Serena. Katrina mussed her hair up. Then she put her arms around Gwen and Ari.
Gwen smirked and asked, "Does this mean we can call you Ensign Kitty?"
Not if you want to keep living, Buster. You can call me Ma'am.
This got a quiet smile from Ariana, who made the sign for Ensign Kitty. Tran Ando walked over to them. He returned her salute and hugged her. "Let me be the first to call you Ensign Ando, honey." In unison, Lorena and Nguyen said,
No, Grandpa, it's Ensign Kitty.
Ariana smiled wickedly and made the sign for Kitty. They laughed as Katrina got indignant.
Thanks, Grandpa. And ignore the punks. They just want to pull my chain.
Jan said, "I bet you can't wait for your orders."
I already know, Dad.
Tina said, "Need some Pepsi?"
Yeah. Hold on. I'm trying to look for this. I'm having a really hard time. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. There's Ensign Kitty. No, Grandpa, it's Ensign Kitty. Oh, here we go. Well, don't keep up this in suspense.
She
That's the right
smiled and blushed as she said,
I'll be a push-drive engineer on the new high-speed cruiser Ulysses S. Grant.
Tina grabbed her and cried, which made Katrina blush and a deep red. Jan had a lump in his throat and whispered, "Kitten, I knew Lorena would have liked that." Tran winked at her through the tears in his eyes. Lorena Ando was Jan's first wife and commander of the first U.S. Grant, a destroyer. Lorena was born a year before Jan, just as her father was maimed in the war. Her father wanted to use her as an instrument of revenge on Tran Ando. In a touch of irony, he was having an affair with Cocklu, the Weeping Willows, who was also his mother. She was employed by his grandfather as the weapon of revenge on Taylor. And in order to keep the pretense, she was the one who trained his daughter in the combat arts. She tried to kill Jan several times during their relationship, but his abilities kept her from doing that, and eventually turned her hate into love. She was pregnant with their first child when they were attacked by a Martian Death Spear armada. Her actions that day helped the SDF keep the passage clear. She had posthumously earned the Medal of Honor, which was presented to Jan after the war. When Tina had the baby during the war, she wanted to name the baby Katrina because Lorena told him she wanted to name the baby after his grandmother, who was killed by the order of Johann Taylor as part of his attack on his grandfather, although he did not know that until the end of the war.
Chapter 4. The Ando family came back from the Han Law estate to celebrate her commissioning. Katrina invited several members of her class, however, they declined. When she asked why, they told her that it was a bit overwhelming with all the heroes that they would have to hobnob with. They told her to come to the final party before they deployed in a week. She said she would be there. She was quiet during the trip home. They arrived at a scrumptious buffet made up by Ivan Grigorovich Yvetkin, Jan's great-grandfather and the majordomo of the estate. Assisted by Min Bin and Trin, the ever-present staff of the estate, Jan noticed Katrina's disappointment when she walked up to the patio. He said to Tina,
Honey, Katrina looks upset.
I know, babe. I wonder what's wrong. Maybe I should talk to her.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll save Dad from the trips.
Jan laughed because he knew that the triplets were monopolizing his father. Tran never minded because he doted on them. And whenever he had free time, he made sure that he visited them. All four loved their grandfather, and the triplets took great sport in exhausting him. Presently, they were playing soccer with him, and he was teamed with Ari against Lorena and Wynn. Lorena was the first of the triplets. She was named after John's first wife, and her Dolphin birthmark was in the palm of her hand. Lorena was a typical girl. She had her dad's looks and her big sister's snarky attitude, which often got her in trouble. She was popular with boys and very flirtatious. Jan often said that he needed a blaster handy when her male callers came over. She was musically talented, but had problems with math. She wanted to join the academy to be an aviator. Nguyen was the second-born child. He was named after Jan's grandfather. Despite all that he did, he favored his mother in her looks, and he was a smart boy. His Dolphin birthmark was on his right bicep. He was also musically inclined, just like his sister Katrina and his triplet sibling Lorena. Although he was not in the level of Katrina, he still held his own in school, and he was on honor roll every time. Jan wondered if he wanted to go to the academy, but he said, nah.
Yeah, two war heroes in the family are enough. Ugh, no, not me.
He started working with his mom to learn the resort business. He was also good at soccer, and his team won several awards. He wanted to be in the Olympics, so he worked hard. The youngest one, Ariana, Tanya's middle name, was an enigma. She had a trauma when she was a toddler that made her mute, but she did not let that stop her. She had the intelligence and curiosity of Katrina, the athleticism of Nguyen, and the looks of Lorena. Her Dolphin birthmark was just above her navel. She also was a musician. And Tina often mused that somehow Ari learned and did new things that compensated for her disability, just like Katrina. When Ari was a toddler, Katrina taught the whole family how to sign so she could communicate with them. She was reserved, but when she got angry. She could say a lot with a few gestures. The boys liked her looks, but she held her own. However, there was one boy, Tommy Yang, who continued to woo her unsuccessfully. The triplets, as expected, were inseparable. Jan and Katrina surmised the Akai influence was still there because they would often go in a circle and stay there for hours. After the seance, they would then relate what the other was saying. Together, the Ando family was happy and supportive of each other as they grew up. Jan felt like he was the luckiest man in the world. He had a job, he was rich, he had a beautiful wife whom he loved and whom loved him back, and four greatest kids in the world. He was content. Katrina was alone at the beach, watching the waves lap against the sandy shore. She wore a red one-piece bathing suit, which showed her lithe figure, and reminded Tina how sexy she looked how sexy she was when was her age before she recalled the day she entered hell. She smiled wistfully, remembering how two people reminded her that she was still an attractive woman. First, it was Jan, then it was Amy Taylor, a clone of Lorena Ando, who was her commander on the first grant. She had a crush on her, and she knew would be unrequited. First, she was married, and second, she was a senior officer. For Tina, 2 strikes were more than enough. It was only when she was wounded in the attack and Lorena ordered her off the ship that Tina professed her love for Lorena. The last look that Lorena gave her continued to haunt her. It was a look of surprise and a soft smile and a nod of understanding. Later, after she married Jan and was established on Earth, Amy Taylor came to seduce her as a means to hurt Jan. Fortunately for their marriage, Jan saw through the scheme and forgave her. That served to fortify their love for each other. It helped that Katrina telepathically said for her to trust her daddy and do the right thing. Although she loved all her kids equally, Tina had a rapport with Katrina because she had a special gift of telepathy and talked to her mind from time to time when she was conceived. Her other kids did not have that capability. At first, she did not know why, but Jan explained later about his mother's genetic manipulation. The conversation she had with her child were fantastic. Tina knew that Katrina was destined for greatness if only she got over her recent bouts of self-loathing and inferiority mixed with arrogance. Both Jan and she knew that Kitten was inferior to no one. But Jan always felt that she was compensating for her profound loss. She got behind Katrina and started to braid her hair. She said,
Mom, you know exactly what I need.
Tina smirked.
It's almost as if I'm telepathic. Mom, Katrina whined. Quit teasing me about that. You know I miss it. I know that, Cat. But it was sure a relief when you couldn't probe my mind anymore and always go, ew, at my naughty thoughts of me and your father. That seemed like you had those thoughts about him all the time, Mom. You were a pervert,
Her mom laughed and said,
On another note, why are you bummed out? None of my classmates wanted to attend my party. Maybe they had other parties to go to. They could have made the time. It's not as if Han La is unreachable. Well, maybe they were intimidated to be in our presence. After all, you do belong to a successful family. Also, they probably didn't want to have to be correct in the presence of the Admiral. You're probably right, although there are still a few who don't like me.
she looked at her daughter with mock sternness and said,
Katrina, Hugh, Ando, we have been through this before, and we are both proud of you. You have done everything you wanted to do. But, Mom, we all know that this is a side effect of Grandma's genetic manipulation. I never told anyone else, but since everything came so easy to me, it seemed a bit like cheating.
Tina said,
Nothing you ever did was cheating. You might have had the abilities, but it was your desire to do something good with them. That's what made you special. I guess so. You know, I had a crush with a fellow classman. His name was David Brooks. And boy, was he a hottie. He was on the swim team with me, and we started talking. But after I became first in the class, he stopped talking to me, and he never told me why. It's as if he considered me a freak. Baby, you are not a freak. Sure, you are special, but never consider yourself a freak. Just remember that now you are going out into the real force. They only judge you on what you do for them at the time, not on your past. Take it from me. I guess.
She looked at the ground sheepishly and blushed, said,
Mom, let's go swimming. Sure, but I don't have my bathing suit. Not to worry, Mom.
Katrina ran into the water and dove in. Tina smiled and took her dress off and did the same. Tina sighed as she swam with her daughter. Katrina was a beautiful young woman with amazing abilities, and Tina felt bad about always feeling self-conscious. It was difficult for Kat, who wanted to go to the academy so badly, but they all felt that the medical may be a problem. Jan and Tina knew that she was perfectly healthy, but they knew if they did a full physical check, they would find her DNA manipulated, which might have disqualified her. It was then that Ivan told them that Nguyen, long ago, used his connections to have the family's DNA results changed to explain the difference between a freak but harmless mutation. They felt that anything to help their daughter out was worth it. They had Ivan confirm the records, and explained that to their daughter that they accepted her records. They felt guilty about covering up the truth about her DNA, but Jan felt the ends justified means. After all, this was how he got into the academy himself. She got that off her mind and raced to catch up with her daughter. Meanwhile, Jan went to the soccer field and saw Nguyen escape Ando's attempt to block his charge, and made a shot on goal that Ari easily blocked. Nguyen got frustrated, as usual, when she beat him, which caused his competitive nature to go into overdrive, and he charged toward his sister. Tran held Nguyen back, and Jan ran over to help calm the boy down.
Easy, Tiger. You know it's bad form to kill your sister on the soccer field. But, Dad, that so-and-so Ari blocked every shot I made.
Ando said,
Maybe she wanted to show you what a good player she is.
At the same time, Jan groaned as Ari made things worse when she stuck her tongue out at Nguyen. This was the last straw which spurred him to escape their grip and charge at her. She took a defensive stance and gestured for him to bring it on. He tackled her, and they started wrestling. Ando suggested his shoulders as well, shrugged his shoulders and said, well, son, you tried. Jan shook his head as Lorena joined the melee. He asked Jan, do you think we should break them up?
Do you think we should break them up? Nah. I never break them up until they start drawing blood. Besides, you know they heal fast. I find it exhausting, and they go to sleep early. Teenagers. With these three, it's like herding ferrets.
He looked at his dad and asked,
Dad, I appreciate what you did for Katrina. I knew it meant a lot for her to get that assignment. Hey, Jan, it was easy. With her accomplishments, she could have anything she wanted. I'm just disappointed she didn't want to be a pilot.
He laughed and said,
I know, me too. But if there's anything I learned about Katrina, is that she's impatient. She wrote to me about how terribly tedious and boring the curriculum was. Oh, like how you complained about it too? Touche. To change the subject, how come you never married again? Well, I think that no matter what she did, your mother had the best intentions for all of us. After the war was over, I talked to Grandpa Ivan and asked him to tell me the truth about what was going on. At first, he told me to leave it alone, but then he knew I wouldn't. And then once Dad died, there was no reason for him to keep it secret. He divulged everything, and Dad kept copious notes of all his missions. It was hard reading about how Mom died and how it was only because I was on a cruise with hidden bodyguards that I stayed alive. I could see why Dad became so obsessed with revenge after the hell he went through. I thought about it and decided that if I knew, I would have cheerfully done the same and killed that bastard with my bare hands. I think that if I knew then what I knew now, I would have made sure that son of a bitch was blown to pieces. That would have saved a lot of lives and prevented another war.
Jan looked sad and said,
I know, Dad. That stuff was in my mind when I was conceived before the Akai lobotomized me. Then you know how they manipulated each other for their mutual benefit. Jan nodded. It was hard enough to know she was an assassin and spy, but to know that she and my dad had a platonic affair made me sick to my stomach. I was so stupid to think that she loved me, and that all she wanted was the physical contact he could not give her. Dad, that's not true. She loved both of you in her own way. She loved you from the day you met, and then you were her path to normalcy and to start to wash the blood from her hands. Yeah, normal. Consenting her to have herself genetically manipulated with alien DNA that tapped into my son's and grandkids' DNA and turned them into, he stopped knowing he may have crossed the line. Turned us into freaks? You know what I mean. I didn't mean it. I love you all. Dad, I accepted what I was a long time ago, even before I found out I was a dolphin in human form and brother to the Akai. I realized I could never hate Mom because she had gave me a gift I can never repay. I wish I could have kept most of it all my life, but I knew for all our sakes I needed to do it. At least I still have the instinct. You know that despite that all, I do love her and no one can ever replace her. Jan nodded, and then when they heard Ariana yelping because her hair was cold, he said, "Well, time to break it out."
They laughed and ran to the pile of young teenagers and joined in. Later in the evening, the Ando family enjoyed a fabulous meal cooked by Tina and Lorena. After that, they went to the music studio in the main wing of the mansion. It was called the Nguyen and Alina K. Ando Memorial Theater. The studio had a theater-style acoustics and seating for 20. On the stage, there was a grand piano in the front row. Jan and Tran wore white formal dinner jackets. Tina was wearing a white gown, and there was cold drinks already waiting for them, courtesy of Min, Bin, and Trin. As they sat down, Jan looked around but did not see the triplets. He raised an eyebrow to Tina. Katrina came on stage wearing a long white strapless gown with her red hair pulled up in a gown. She bowed to them. Jan thought she looked like an angel who walked to the piano. As she walked to the piano and sat down and started into Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto 1, Opus 23 in B flat minor. The beauty and passion that she put into her playing brought tears in Tina's eyes and a lump in Jan's throat. They always enjoyed it when she played, and just as she was getting to the crescendo, the triplets marched in quietly. Lorena was in a white gown with red hair, in a bun. Ari was in a black gown with her long hair left loose behind her. Nguyen was wearing a black tuxedo. They all had serious faces and looked straight at Katrina, who ignored them. Jan rolled his eyes and shook his head. Katrina continued playing as if they were not there as they grabbed their instruments. Ari took a shiny silver trumpet. Lorena got behind the drums, and Nguyen got the bass. They immediately started to play the song Cherokee, overpowering Katrina's playing. They got through the first measure. As they got through the first measure, Katrina, without missing a beat, joined their jam. The audience all laughed and clapped as they enjoyed the evening jam session. They played many other genres such as rock, blues, metal, and it made for a fun end to the evening. Jan was amused and surprised by how Ari, who was normally quiet and reserved, played the guitar riffs. And she grabbed after playing her trumpet solo during their jazz session. He also marveled how Lorena handled the drums on the 3 heavy metal songs. At the end of the session, they did all along the watchtower, and Tina and Jan danced together like they were teenagers. Afterwards, Katrina stood up and said,
Thank you, lovely people. We are Flying Dolphin. We also play at weddings, bat mitzvahs, and funerals. Please leave your tips in the jar.
They all took a bow. Tina quipped to Jan,
They are all such accomplished musicians. So what happened to you?
This was a running joke because Jan could never carry a tune and his whistling was horrible. Jan and Tina made their rounds to the kids' bedrooms. After this exhausting day, Katrina, Nguyen, and Lorena were fast asleep, but Ariana was still awake. Jan found her looking out the window as he walked over and kissed the top of her head. He said,
"Go to sleep, pumpkin."
She sighed.
I'm going to miss Kitten.
I know, babe. I will too. But I'm very proud of her.
Me too, Daddy.
He hugged her and kissed her, and she went to sleep. Jan walked out to the deck where Tina was sitting there in her robe holding a glass of wine. Jan took it and kissed her.
Ari had a hard time going to bed. I think she's taking Katrina's departure hard.
Well, you know how close they are.
I know. I tried to reach out to see her future, but as you know, I've never been able to leave Kitten.
Well, us girls need to keep secrets too.
She went into his arms, and they watched the moonlight reflect on the water.
You want me to do this one, Joe?
Yeah, you can read her narrations.
Okay. A week later, chapter 5. A week later, Ensign Katrina H. Ando arrived at the moon in a 10-person shuttle. She whistled as she saw the spiraling, massive orbital shipyard known as Tranquility Base and got her first look at the Ulysses S. Grant. The Grant was an imposing vessel of 550 meters long that was cylindrically shaped and had 6 bulges in the stern, which housed the enhanced push-drive engines. They provided the drive engine to cut an Earth-Mars trip to 2 days and a journey to Jupiter in a week. She was docked into a spherical appendage on the station, and Katrina saw the ship taking in cargo. Her shuttle docked at the ship's personnel airlock, and then she gathered her gear and went to the ship's airlock. She saluted the UN colors and then the officer at the deck and said,
Ensign Ando requesting permission to board, sir.
The Lieutenant JG said, permission granted, Ensign.
Granted. Permission granted, Ensign.
Then he waved to a crewman who came over to him. He said,
This crewman will assist you with your sea bag and show you to the captain's ready room. He said he wanted to see you when you arrived.
The crewman grabbed the bag and waited for her to leave.
Thank you, sir.
She nodded at the crewman and followed him. When they arrived at the captain's quarters, the crewman said,
Ma'am, I will take your bag to your quarters. They are on Delta Deck, berth 22. Delta 22. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Carry on.
After the crewman left, she knocked twice and waited for an answer. As she waited, she looked at the right of the corridor and saw the wall of honor mounted outside the captain's quarters. It had an original portrait of the general who won the American Civil War and later became President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant. To the right, there was a large picture of Lorena Ando wearing a dress uniform. Under the portrait, in a glass stand, was the United Nations Medal of Honor and the citation that accompanied it. It was donated to the ship by her father when it was commissioned. Then next to the picture was a photo of the entire crew taken a month prior to that fateful day. She looked at it closely and saw her mother in her yeoman's outfit. As she was blushing, Katrina smiled softly and whispered,
You look so young in that picture. I love you, Mommy.
Just then, she heard a gruff voice yell, Enter.
Enter.
She opened the hatch and saw a large, muscular, bald black man sitting at a large wooden desk where he was wearing stiffly starched khakis. She took the position of attention and said,
Sir, Ensign Ando Katrina H. reporting for duty.
He nodded and said,
Please be seated.
She walked to a large seat by a small table and sat down. He walked over to a small refrigerator and asked,
What would you like to drink? I have soda, or if you prefer, I have something harder. The beer lamp has been on for an hour now.
Tonic water, please, sir. Thank you.
I like to make my new officers comfortable, especially since I am going to be working their asses off. I must say, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Captain Roger Talley. It's not every day I meet someone famous. You made quite a name for yourself, Ensign. Or should I call you Doctor?
Ensign is fine, sir.
Katrina blushed, knowing that her official title on her records read Katrina H. Ando, Ensign, PhD. Although she was proud of being a doctor, she wanted to work to be a good fleet officer and not let her title get in the way. He nodded.
Let's see. Ando, Katrina Hugh. As good captain, I reviewed your records. You're a daughter of 2 decorated war heroes and granddaughter of one of the greatest warriors alive. You are their heir apparent to the largest fortunes on Earth. You are the youngest shipmaster in maritime history. You are a certified genius with a PhDs in engineering and music education. You founded the Orca School of Musical Therapy, so you are an accomplished musician. After reading your record, I have 2 questions. Why the Force and why ship driver? You could have been an aviator, like your family.
Sir, I want to go out in space right now. I know that if I went to flight school, it would take me almost 3 years to get out of here. I don't want to wait.
So I see. Here it says as a third-year middle, you interned at the Palmer Hideki Advanced Engineering Institute. You did your 4th-year tour on the level and got a top rating from your department head. You're a qualified push drive engineer and first in your class.
She said with quiet pride.
Yes, sir.
Well, despite what your detailer told you, I don't need another engineer.
He smirked at her crestfallen look. He paused for a moment and said,
What I do have a need for is a navigator. Would you be interested in that? Before you say anything, think about this. I think that with your ability and background, you will have a ship of your own in less than 5 years. But in order to do that, you need a broad experience in ship operations. I started out as TACO and went to engineering, then navigation before I had destroyer command.
Well, sir, if you think I can, then yes, I'll do it.
Good. Get settled in your berth and you can meet the XO tomorrow.
He walked to his desk and looked at his papers, which was the signal that she was dismissed. She rose and said,
Aye, aye, sir.
And then she smartly turned about face and marched out. After she closed the hatch, he smiled and said to himself,
She's a chip off the old block.
Katrina left the captain's office and walked by the wall of honor to get a better look. She saw the picture of Lorena Ando in a dress uniform. She was a very beautiful woman who had blonde hair and large blue eyes. The picture showed her pride in her ship and with her. She shivered because she still thought of her as Amy Taylor, the agent who hurt her mom and tried to hurt her dad for some sick scheme that originated from his grandmother and great-grandmother. Katrina could never figure out what that was. What was her grandmother's motivation? Like her father, she was never able to read Tanya. She looked over to the crew picture and saw the group picture. She whispered to herself.
Mommy looks so young in that picture.
She saw how her mom looked, and she knew that her mom was only 19 when that picture was taken with her short red hair. She looked very shy, and it did not surprise her that she inherited her mom's proclivity to blush at the drop of a hat. In fact, her mom was blushing when that picture was taken. She marveled at how a girl from the streets could look so striking, serious, and elegant. Someone walked over to her and said,
That crew was really something, Ensign.
She turned around and saw a commander. She instinctively snapped to attention and said,
Sorry, sir. I was just looking at the picture. My mother was on that crew.
Yes, I know. Ensenando. I'm Commander David Braxton. Lieutenant Commander Stephen Braxton was my father.
He pointed at the man at the center of the crew picture who stood next to Anna.
He was the XO. He spoke very highly about your mother.
My mother never spoke much about her time on board the ship. I think the crew meant so much to her, and to lose them in battle hurt her a lot. Her getting her battlefield commission didn't mean as much to her as the whole time on board.
She didn't mention that when she was in the womb as a baby, just before she lost the gift, that no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't stop her mom's vivid memories of her time there and the attack, what her mom called the day of hell. Her mom had a hard time sleeping for some time, especially on the anniversary of that day.
My father, rest his soul, was very proud of her. When he spoke of her actions during the evacuation, he always got choked up. Here they were. They just got the order to evacuate. The ship was breaking up, and things were falling down all around them. They were screaming and crying, and death all around. Yeoman Robbins was a sight to see. And there she was, limping. Her arm was laying uselessly on her side, and blood was pouring out of her eye socket, and a piece of shrapnel took out her eye. And she helped lead the crew out, cared for others, encouraged them when they faltered. She was as much a hero as Captain Ando.
She never told us about all this. All we knew was about how she got her scars and that she became an ensign.
She said honestly because she never saw anything after Lorena and the bridge. She sighed and held back tears.
She was a real hero.
My father nominated her for a Medal of Honor, but since Captain Ando received one, they downgraded it to a Fleet Distinguished Service Cross and a battlefield promotion to ensign. I always thought that was wrong. She deserved the Medal of Honor.
He gave her a somber look, or he saw her somber look and paused for a second.
Ensign, I would like to invite you to my war room later to celebrate the lives of the crew that came before us.
Hello?
Hmm?
Did we lose her?
Hmm?
Did we lose her?
Jill?
Jill?
I didn't realize I was muted. Sorry. I would like that, sir, when I get acclimated.
All right. Tomorrow, I'll report to my office where you will meet your supervisor at 0600 hours.
Aye, sir.
She marched away. She went to her berth and went to her rack and lay there. She looked up at the ceiling, ashamed of her getting weepy, and in a faux Kansas accent said,
Well, kitten, you ain't in Vietnam anymore.
Then she got up and unpacked her gear. She placed her three most prized possessions. There was a picture of her family while they were out at the beach. Splasher, her stuffed dolphin that her mother got her as she got her first doctorate, and a wafer-thin piano keyboard. As she was unpacking, her roommate came in, a striking brunette who was dressed in spandex shorts and sports bra, with the ship's logo, as she just came in from the fitness center. Katrina said,
Hi there, I'm Katrina Ando. Nice to meet you. Please call me Kat.
"Oh, hi, Kent. I'm Sandy Baker. It's a pleasure to meet you as well." They talked about
Sorry.
Well, gotta give you a break. They talked about the academy. Baker was 2 classes ahead of her, and she was assigned to ship services. She considered it a stepping stone for her to go to the CIC as a tactical operations officer. Katrina was reassured that she's being treated as a member of the crew, not a brainiac. After they turned in, Katrina looked at the ceiling and pondered how far she came from when she was a baby. By her own admission, she was a sarcastic little brat. The fact that she was a genius-level fetus made her very arrogant, especially when she was able to hack into a secure college computer and get on the dean's list before she was teething. Nothing changed her personality as she worked on her civilian education. She even became more insufferable after she earned her first doctorate because it was something few accomplished at her age. She always said,
If you have the ability, then use it.
it was when the triplets were 4 years old that she earned a valuable lesson in humility. She was trying to work with Ariana on some problem long forgotten. She was so frustrated that Ari was unable to get the concepts that she yelled at the little girl.
You're so stupid! Why were you even born? You're not worthy of us.
It was the first time she saw her sister cry. The little one ran off to the grounds, followed by the other 2, who were also crying. The look of disapproval that she saw in her mom and dad later was probably the worst she ever seen. The worst part of it was the only thing her father said to her later that day is, Katrina Way Ando, I am ashamed of you. Now go apologize to Ariana. When they walked away, she swore at that time she would try to treat others with respect. She walked over to Ari and begged her forgiveness, and bless her heart, she did. Later, when she entered the academy, she found that no one cared what she did before, what she did now. She was shocked, though, at how her classmates treated her and ostracized her from social activities until she fought against that ignorance and showed a capability for leadership she never knew she had. There were other times that she learned about leadership. For example, on her senior cruise, she followed her father's advice to always listen to the Master Chiefs. She realized that her dad was right. The academy made her an adult. As she went to sleep, she saw herself as a fetus in her mother's womb. The fetus talked in her mind. She said,
You're such a whiner. I can't believe I'm gonna grow up to be you. Well, I can't believe that I was ever as sarcastic and arrogant as you. You're just jealous that you can't read minds anymore. Jealous? Jealous? If you saw the things in my mind, you wouldn't think that way. Sometimes I felt like such a freak. I had no friends for such a long time. Blah, blah, blah. Get over yourself. You knew you had it good when you were a podling.
Then she disappeared, and Katrina woke up in a cold sweat. Jill, I know you have to head out. Do you want to pause? You want to stop here and bail?
Yeah, can we?
We could.
Yeah. I'm just not feeling really well. So.
Okay. All right. We'll stop here and then continue next time.
Okay.
Is that okay with you, Joe?
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you, Jill.
Okay.
I was having fun because I had to figure out how to make Katrina sound like a teenager, but then also be a baby again. It was funny.
That was good. That was good. All right. So you two can head out because I know you
Okay.
have pop culture breakdown. I'll end the show.
All right. Thank you. Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
All right, we'll pick up from here next time then.
All right.
Yep, we will.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
See you guys later.
Bye.
right, see
Have
ya.
fun on pop culture.
I will. I'm so excited. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Peoples. All right. So, okay. We're gonna stop here. I'm gonna go over a little bit of the chat's comments, and then we will do show notes. I hope you liked what we did so far, and I hope you'll definitely come back again to read for the reading of the conclusion of this section and maybe the start of another one. And don't forget, Snort's clapping was. Okay, let's read it. All right. Yeah. More pause for King Dolphin TV. Kel's Kiss, loved the reading. It was great. Yeah, let's see. FKHC. In real life, she would have gotten it. Medal of Honor, at least the Navy Cross. Yeah, well, I think because she was a lowly yeoman, they weren't going to give her a Medal of Honor, so she got the next best thing. Pepsi won. Had to bail out because of her voice. Nice. And happy birthday to Raquel SSG 2211. Okay. Oh, don't worry about it. I'm glad you were here anyway. Okay. So, let's go to show notes.
It's time for show notes. It's time for show notes. Yeah, with Mr. Raven and Sandra too. It's time for show notes. We're bringing it on. It's time for show notes. You've all been warned. It's time for show notes.
Okay. We are back to what's going on here? Why did I just lose? I had a. Okay, wonder what's going on here. Can everybody still hear me? Okay, because I lost my comments. So Gumby decided it's going to strike me at the end of the show. So let's get the picture. Snortopopus says, take care. Every human, dolphin, doggo, Dalek, ferret, eagle, hedgehog, and resplendent Quetzal. TM, wholly owned subsidiary of the Dolphin Wars. Okay, and here is the resplendent Uzumawat. Sir. Courtesy of Snortopopus Cuba. There we go. I don't have my comments. I don't know what StreamYard crashed on me. So I'm going to have to. Yep, Gumby strikes again. Let's do it. Okay. So we've got coming up. I will have on the 28th, Agent Pepsi 1 will be on. We will be talking about her story, the one she's writing, which is a adaptation of Westworld. So it's pretty good. I've read the first chapter, and it's really good. So we'll be talking about it then. On the 4th, we will have Brick Plania, Alex Taylor on. We will be talking about the AWACS aircraft. And he may show us his Lego airport. We'll try and get a picture of it when he has it up. So that'll be the 4th. On the 7th, it will be episode 444. And because of that, the theme will be the Fantastic Four. On the 11th, our Man 1 will be on to talk about what he does. And I have another interview with another creator later on in the month. So that is what is going on show notes. Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. We will do that. We'll show we'll do this. We'll show the Lego of the Devilry. And also, let's see, who was it? I think it was Crouching Taylor Hidden Swift, who did a $1 Invisible Ink super chat. Thank you very much, sir. And now we will wrap things up. This was a rather long section, and Jill had to go on Pop Culture Breakdown, and Agent Pepsi 1 wasn't feeling well, and neither was Max. So we were able to struggle through, and I think we did pretty good. All right, so we had Kel's Kiss. Thank you very much for being here. Glad you enjoyed the reading. Phantom Outsider, thank you very much for being here. Oh, we also had Crouching Taylor, Hidden Swift. We had Crouching Taylor, Hidden Swift. Thank you again. We had Phantom Outsider. Okay. We had Sandra, the producer. You heard him in the background. Trike was barking, as usual. He was adding his own sound effects to the reading. We had FKHC 2005, the maker of the pin joke, and a great guy. We have the magnificent Legatus Legionii, another great guy, and who tells you to, besides the fact that he hears me, make sure you like, share, sub, chat, comment, engage, enjoy. Order a signed copy of this novelization. Yes, we do send signed copies of the books and return for new. Yep. The show must go on. Bravo to all the cast members. Yes. Legionii. And I would like to thank my amazing, but not ready for pod time players, Agent Pepsi 1, Anti-Derivative Jill, Maximum Redstone. And before I forget, we must thank the one, the only bear beyond compare, Snort of Poop Ass Cuba. Thanks for being here, Snort. And for everybody, I want everybody to be safe. If you stay warm, stay happy, and we will see you on Saturday for Just 'Cause. And take care.